So guys, we have some brand new details and teasers to go over from James Gunn in regards to the new upcoming Superman movie titled Superman Legacy, in which he does reveal the main plot inspiration, all of which we'll be talking about in this video. So if that sounds interesting, let's hop into it. Yo, what is going on guys, Flashverse here, and welcome back to another video on the DCU. So, a couple of days ago, James Gunn has obviously revealed his slate for the DCU Chapter 1, titled Gods and Monsters, and he's revealed 10 new projects. Now, bear in mind, he's only revealed 10 new projects. That doesn't mean that DCU Chapter 1 will only consist of these 10 projects. There will be many more projects, but he's only revealed these new 10 projects. One of which is, of course, a new Superman movie. Now, we didn't know much about the Superman movie. All we knew was that it was a brand new, much younger version of Superman, not played by Henry Cavill, and that it would not be an origin story. It is just a reboot. Now, we did then go on to get a brief idea of the film in terms of Superman's character, as James Gunn was presenting during his slate. Now, most recently, posting this on Twitter, showing the comics he's taking a lot of inspiration from for his DCU. And as you guys can see, one of the comics over there is that of All-Star Superman. That's the inspiration he's taking from for his Superman movie. Now, James Gunn does say, "We're talked a lot about Women of Tomorrow, but these are more of the comics inspiring DC Studios and the new DCU in these early days. That doesn't mean we're adapting all of these comics, but that the feel, the look, or the tone of them are touchstones for our team." Check him out. Now, comicbook.com does cover this as an article where, they talk about everything James Gunn has revealed in regards to the Superman movie, but also does give us a very brief plot summary of All-Star Superman, which is the comic book James Gunn will be taking inspiration from. So yeah, let's go over this article, and then we'll obviously, talk about the plot and what could potentially be taken from it. For the first time since Man of Steel launched the DC Extended Universe in 2013, the last son of Krypton will fly solo in Superman Legacy. The reboot, written and produced by James Gunn for DC Studios, releases in theaters on July 11, 2025, as the official start of the DC Universe. It's not an origin story, Gunn's DC Studios co-chief Peter Safran said during the Slate presentation. Like the Batman and Elseworlds story separate from the DCU that introduced Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne in his second year as a costumed crime fighter, Legacy will focus on a younger version of Superman. The role will be recast and Henry Cavill will not be the DCU Superman. So that is obviously something we already knew. Superman Legacy is the true foundation of our creative vision for the DC universe. Not only is Superman an iconic part of DC lore, he is also a favorite character for comic book readers, viewers of earlier movies, and fans around the world. I can't wait to introduce our version of Superman, who audiences will be able to follow and get to know across films, movies, animation, and gaming. Gunn's Superman is approximately 25 years old, making him more established than Welling's high school-aged Clark Kent in Smallville, but younger than Cavill's 33-year-old rookie superhero in Man of Steel. Legacy draws inspiration from writer Grant Morrison and artist Frank Quitely's 12-part series All-Star Superman. Morrison envisioned his alternate universe as a timeless take on the super mythos, with such classic characters as Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, and Perry White of the Daily Planet, Ma and Pa Kent, Krypto the Superdog, the Fortress of Solitude, and Lex Luthor. While Legacy is not an adaptation of All-Star Superman, Gunn said, "I'm a huge fan of All-Star Superman, and it is very inspired by All-Star Superman. In All-Star Superman, a trip to the sun exposes Superman to critical levels of stellar radiation. Superman is dying from the very source of his superpowers. It's a world where Lois Lane describes her bumbling co-worker, a clumsy Clark Kent, as a big country lummox, while Superman has had a storied career of saving the world. Like the alien farm boy turned idealistic superhero, the DCU Superman will be the embodiment of truth, justice, and the American way, Safran said, revealing Legacy focuses on Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. And obviously this was what James Gunn did say while presenting the slate. Added Gunn, I really love the idea of Superman. He's a big old galoot. He is a farm boy from Kansas who is very idealistic. His greatest weakness is that he'll never kill anybody, doesn't want to hurt a living soul. And I like that sort of innate goodness about Superman as his defining characteristic. Now, obviously, James Gunn is very, very, into comic books, and he does, staying true to the comics despite, making a couple of changes as well. But this is why I do really trust him about this Superman movie, because James Gunn knows what he's doing. He knows the comics, he knows the character of Superman, he knows what Superman stands for. So in regards to all of that, I am really looking forward to that aspect of the character. Now, in regards to the comic book he's taking inspiration from, All-Star Superman, I'm not too familiar with it. I'm not the biggest comic book reader ever, but as I said, we do know a couple of things taking place from this comic, such as, he gets overexposed to, radiation, and that's causing him to essentially die. And upon further research, I came across this site from DC Fandom, and they do reveal more about All-Star Superman and the story of it. So, we'll be reading a lot of it, and we'll break it down, talk about which story bits they could take inspiration from. His final adventures began when saving Leo Quintum and his workers from a mission to the sun sabotaged by Luthor. In diving into the sun, Superman's cells were overloaded with yellow solar radiation, which while temporarily grant him enhanced abilities, it is also what's essentially killing him, leaving his days obviously limited. And, he's, trying to prepare for his passing. He knows he's dying, he goes around doing a bunch of different good. Now, Superman reveals his identity to Lois Lane, who of course is the woman he loves. Now, there's a lot of stuff that happens in this comic which I very, very highly doubt that they're gonna do in the film. As I said, they're only taking inspiration from the comic. They're not necessarily doing a copy paste. So I doubt we're gonna get the super elixir, for example, which is what Clark gifts Lois for her birthday, and it essentially gives her Superman's full range of powers for a single day. So those sorts of stuff I doubt they will do, but the main premise of it, Lex Luthor's involvement most specifically, I'm pretty sure something like that will happen. Obviously, as I said, this is taking inspiration, so I won't be surprised if they do, adapt the story in a way where Superman, yes, he gets this radiation poisoning and various other things like that, but also Lex Luthor is the main villain of the film, because there's a lot of, stuff happening in this comic which I very, very highly doubt they will do, including a bunch of characters' involvements that a lot of people wouldn't be too familiar with. We do have pretty much a sentient artificial sun. That's pretty much the villain of this comic in some way, that of course being Solaris. So those sorts of things I don't think they will do. I think they will, grab Lex Luthor. I think they will grab this, initial idea of Superman, getting radiation poisoned, but also doing all of this good, which helps him, be the embodiment of truth, justice, and the American way, as James Gunn says. Because if we have a look at the ending of this comic, with Solaris' arrival imminent, Superman devises a new uniform to allow him to maintain his powers in spite of the Tyrant Star's red solar barrage. Going to confront it with the aid of Superman robots after closing down the Fortress of Solitude, Superman finally managed to shut Solaris down, albeit with the sacrifice of his former pet Sun Eater. Returning to the Daily Planet with his completed article chronicling Superman's death, Clark finally passed away, only for Lex Luthor to emerge, having stolen the super elixir and now determined to conquer the Earth. In his hubris, largely disregarding that Solaris had poisoned Earth's sun, soon to bring about the extinction of all life, Kal-El was met on the shores of the afterlife by Jor-El, who informed him that his consciousness was now converting into pure solar energy, and that it was his decision to surrender to the process or turn back and stop Luthor one final time. Waking up in his body, Clark grabbed the gravity gun he had stashed away, along with a spare costume and knocked Luthor away, exposing his identity to his co-workers. In the final battle that raged across Metropolis, Luthor seemed to have defeated Superman, and with the aid of his robotic sentries and his niece, Nastalethia, was poised to conquer the Earth. However, being possessed of Superman's senses and seeing the universe laid utterly bare before him forced Luthor to hesitate, as he was finally confronted with the essential nature of reality that he was always denied. It's all just us, in here together, and we're all we've got. Superman rose one final time, informing Luthor of his true tactic, having suspected that Luthor had stolen the super elixir due to the malfunction of one of his robots. The gravity gun had sped up Luthor's metabolism to a point where his artificial powers had worn off within mere minutes, and knocked him out when Luthor returned to his former petty self. Beginning to disintegrate into pure energy, Superman kissed Lois goodbye one final time before hurling himself into Sol to build it an artificial heart. His final super challenge thus being fulfilled. While he would live in on the sun, he would be forced to remain there until his task was complete. The planet nonetheless published the headline of Superman's death, so that it would ultimately be sent back in time as a warning for Superman to prepare. And those sorts of stuff, I very, very highly doubt they will do. They just get the initial premise of it with the radiation poisoning and all of that, but obviously they'll do a completely different spin on it as well. That's what I think will happen, because this comic, not only is it like very, very long, so they can't really, take full adaptation on this because it's got multiple issues and it's quite long, but also it has a lot of involvements of various other characters, which I doubt they will do as well. So I'm just guessing it will just be the initial premise. They'll probably get Lex Luthor's involvement, but that would be about it. And maybe the characterization of Superman in All-Star Superman would also be there, and that would probably be it, in my opinion, for Superman Legacy. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe. Be sure to tell me in the comment section down below what you guys think about all of this. I'm interested to see all of your thoughts towards all of this as well. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video.